Sanibonani, welcome to Daily Thetha Kamalami Kini Shandu and namhlanje sikhuluma about abantwana abazali la eNingizimu Afrika kodwa uthole ukuthi abazali abokufika la eNingizimu Afrika. Do we accommodate them? Bafila as South Africans kwabona na or kusena lokho ukuthi umuntu just because abazali bakhe abase Kenya, Botswana, Nigeria or anywhere ibona bafila as if that's where they belong or that's how we make them feel ukuthi ba belong khona. That's what we're talking about namhlanje. Ngenza ukuthi nawe esikoleni we experience into ezifana nale whereby kunomntwana umzali wakho wangaphandle niyam accommodate na or kusena lokho ukuthi ukucwasana just because abazali bakho basuka kuphi.
Dumelang la amogela nna ke na Nicolette wa ga Mashile ngwana wa kwa Bushbuckridge Mapulaneng etelo ka nka matsogo ene ke sesi fortune wa ka madlala Kini is already said lebella bananyana ba gore bana le batswadi ba gore ba tswa ka taong ga South Africa ngwana o belegwa mo South Africa re butsa gore na di rights tso di re coverang rune who are South African citizens so na dia mo cover ene ngwane nna ene batswadi ba gage ba chiba na. According to the Department of Home Affairs gore o kre citizenship in South Africa it's not automatic gore ba go belegi mo South Africa. You need to get it by birth, number 1, number 2 by descent, and number 3 by naturalization. So if we are South Africans and we talk about being South Africans, they're not South Africans. Do they have the right to the social grant? Do they have the right to fight for the land just as much as we've got a right? And how do you actually, as Kini has already asked, as long as South Africa, South African, even if you come from the other country, but the other African countries, you are still my brother and you are still my sister. Please send us any of your comments, your questions. If only we do have the Department of Home Affairs here today with us. Those questions of yours, use any of our social media pages. Just remember to use the hashtag Daily Thetha or you can phone 011-339-1315. But let's start our conversation by welcoming our studio audience.
Njengenjwayelo asiqala on your side Nicolette sizukuthi bathina bafethu especially abazali makusube ngaba ngaphandle do we treat them ngendlela efanayo or kunenhlese whereby you feel like lo muntu lo kahle kahle akasiyo iSouth African.
Sisi arithomeka wena kapa o re botsa gore na kwena mali bitso la gago siqale lapha nene usitshela ukuthi do you feel like you are a South African? I know ukuthi you call yourself half so ngicela usichazele ukuthi le half isho ukuthini kuqala and then usitshela ukuthi do you feel like you're a South African?
Sanibonani igama lami nguNontobeko. I'm half South African, I'm half Botswana. Basically I won't say side Botswana I can say ngifila kulo kakhulu because I hardly go there. Okay. And even if I go there you feel good you don't know anything much about them. And then when you're here, because I was born and raised here in South Africa, I know everything about being South African, so I'm South African.
Yeah.
100% for me, I'm just South African.
Okay. And do you feel good then, let's say for instance, if both of your parents were born in Botswana, right? And you were born in South Africa, do you feel that you would still have the rights to fight for some of the things that you get as a South African child?
Already, if I already have a South African citizenship, certificate and all that, they're already saying legal citizenship. Why not? Because they've stepped up, would say I'm legalized, so might as well be.
All right, and I think that's what we're looking at. When and now, who has parents who are born in another country, they were not part, perhaps, of the struggle, as we call it. They didn't fight in the 1976 fight. Do you really have a right to fight for the land?
That's what we're talking about. And next to me, I have umuntu minutes just such as funny because abazali umzali wakhe omunye waseNingizimu Afrika and omunye waseMalawi as well. Patrick, let me come to you as umuntu okhulele eMpumalanga and umama wakho waseMalawi and ubaba waseNingizimu Afrika. Was there a point where you feel like uyakufila lokuthi akusibobo ngabazali bakho baseNingizimu Afrika?
No, I did not feel anything ukuthi akusibonke be South Africa because the way ukhuliswa ngakhona and the way ufundiswa ngakhona it reflects ukuthi uba umuntu onjani and it determines your growth as a South African because at the end of the day thina sonke siyafana singabantu sonke lento yokuthi citizenship it doesn't count but what counts is the mindset that you have. If you are programming your mindset ukuthi mina ngi South Africa mina ngi foreigner then that's where the problem begins. But once you have the mindset ukuthi we are equal then angeke kube ne problem sethana ngokufana I am South African, you are South African. We have the citizenship, then we are fine with that.
And umama wakho waseMalawi?
Yes, entire.
Was there a point maybe mawuvakashile ubona ukuthi ngenza ukuthi belong to a mother side or to a father side or ucabanga ukuthi this is where exactly you belong as South Africa?
There's no difference. It's just that a country is a country.
Yeah.
And South Africa is no longer an island as well.
Yeah.
So when you go to another country, you find ukuthi kunezindlela ezithize abaphila ngazo
Yeah.
compared to South Africa. So South Africa, sometimes siyabandlulana, yabona. Sometimes you want to kill one another because of this xenophobic phenomenon, of which akufanelanga ibe njalo because manje thina South Africa sekukhona ama-constitutional rights.
Yeah.
So we need to treat each other equally.
Okay.
Singayi ngokuthi umuntu akase South African, omunye is South African. That's
I
it.
have a different case when it comes to Reginald. Reginald, when are you from Ematatiela, closer to Lesotho? Yes. And at some point, South Africans made you feel as if you belong to Lesotho and Bagubiza even Ngamakamathize. How was that experience for me?
No,
Pamsi microphone Yakoba.
in this experience, right, because like somewhere they make me feel like I'm an outside or something. But somewhere in South Africans have treated like jalo ka batho ba ka mo South African everything, but ba treat badly because ba tswa kantle and everything.
There were xenophobic attacks that were happening in Africa where you somehow feeling safe?
No, I don't feel safe somehow, but then South Africa come thing then doing.
Okay. It's a very sad experience, Nicolette, but let's come to your side. We are born ukuthi abanye abantu bafila kanjani la in Africa, but I'm sure by the end of the show, so bese sishintshile indlela yokucabanga kwabantu, maybe so bese sikwazi uku-accommodate abanye abantu abangomakhelwane bethu.
Kini, sesingona sa dilo tsa government ya runa ke gore some of the parents, they come into South Africa illegally and then ba be le bana mo, and then they impose their children to South African constitution and say South African constitution e tlo ba covering, but because the parents are here illegally, it becomes a very big problem for the children. But speaking about illegal practices, what's actually happening there and what are the difficulties that the situation has created?
Okay, my name is Doreen Glazer. I'm from Soweto Freedom Park. Oh, my mom was robbed 2014 August. When she was robbed, she lost her ID. She went to the police station to an affidavit that I lost my ID so she could go to the Home Affairs to make a new ID. When she got to the Home Affairs, the new ID that came out had a different surname from a foreign nation.
Okay.
So she wanted to change that surname back to her surname. They were sending her back and forth. They said she must go to the High Court to divorce the person. She went to the High Court. I don't know the person. She doesn't know the person. When she got to the High Court, they were like, you can't divorce someone who's not here because he has to sign that we are divorcing. So I was like, I don't know the person. They said they'll send her papers to Pretoria. The High Department of the Home Affairs. They sent her papers there. Since she's been waiting for those papers, they brought back some papers. They said, no, you married this person. She was like, I don't know this person.
Tell us a little bit about sorry to cut you off. We're going to have to go for a quick ad break. Tell us a little bit about your brother. What's happening now with your brother?
My brother is 17. He's going to be writing matric next year. He doesn't have an ID, and my mom cannot take an ID for him. So
because she doesn't have an ID.
She doesn't have an ID. She can't take a ID for him, and he has to write matric next year. So he won't write matric because he doesn't have an ID.
Sure, it's a very interesting and just very sad conversation that we're going to be having more daily Thetha, but I think it's very educational and very, very important and needed, Kini.
That's what we're going to be talking about. But I think ukuthi yini lezo become ngoba samba njelohlela. Nansi into sikuphatheleyo.
Even if noma kuthiwa uyenwala umuntu nawe, you deserve to be treated like a person.
Bazozalwa abanye bese futhi bayanda futhi ama South African. Discrimination is wrong.
Jayam? Flex. We come from Daily Thetha, Sinshale round like KZN Namhlanje, and we are talking about young people that are born with foreign parents. Abazali bami, both of them are Chinese, or Bapume Swatini, or Bapume Tunisia. Kodwa ngizalelwa la eMzansi. Do you regard me as a South African in that particular case?
No, in that particular case, ngiyacabanga ukuthi yes, ngakubiza South African because usuzalelwe la South Africa vele. Regardless ukuthi abazali bakuphi, that doesn't matter. What matters is that when uzalelwe kuphi, because you might be in South Africa but uthola ukuthi awusenayo i-chance yokubuyela kuleli zwe osuka kulona due to ama funds. So I can call you as a ukuthi you deserve South African nationality.
Sekunalo mthetho ukuthi ingane esibhedlela iphuma with the birth certificate, which makes it leyo ngane is South African citizen. Then abazali even though bengabona bala but banengane yala South Africa.
Kusho ukuthi kumele wena unikwe i-nationality yabazali bakho because already I think isibaningi kakhulu la eSouth Africa sinele nje uNkulunkulu usibusisile ngabantwana kuyatetwa kuyanda nje njalo ngaso sonke isikhathi manje mina for mina I think ngamele unikwe some temporal ukuthi kuregister ukuthi ubukhona ukuthi i-date ibe accurate mhlambe bese uyangakinike uma usuthola isikhathi abazali bakhe bekushayele kahle into yakho.
For example, if I get a child and I'm not a South African, and I give birth here, obviously I want my child to be a South African because of the benefits that South African can give us.
Abanye abantu bathi like abantu abaphuma ngaphandle they will marry South African young women or they will have kids here so that they can get citizenship yala ekhaya. Do you think bakhona labantu laba abathatha advantage ukuthi if ngiba nengane or ngishada la eSouth Africa ngizothola citizenship and then the benefits nakhona?
Well, from izinto esengizwile bakhona abenza njalo and lokho ngesikhathi ukuthi sijudge abantu abenza lokho nabanye sibajaje ngathi nabo bafuna lokho because khona ababathanda ukuthi osisibethu yabo.
Hayi kunokwenzeka khona ipossibility ukuthi no lokho kuyenze ukuthi agcine seba nengane ngala but lokho akusho ukuthi kusuke kuyimission yakhe or aim yakhe ukuthi enze leyo nto leyo.
They do marry abantu bala South Africa because of ukuthi bafuna ukuthola i-citizen because if uzocomparisha South Africa compared to amazwe la Africa, South Africa is one of the most developing country and the country enza kahle compared to ezezimali. So I can say abanye vele basuka la bethola imshado and all the stuff because of ukuthi bafuna ubuzophelele baya South Africa, but abanye basuke benziwa some certain reason ukuthi ngathini befike la mhlambe let's say bafike ngokomsebenzi and then sebeyafika bethola nezingane some out of yonke le nto le but nje imost yabo bayakwenza vele lokho ukuthi umuntu ethola ingane bese ethole leyo ngane le bese isebenzisa as opportunity ukuthi again ubuzo bela eSouth Africa.
Welcome back to Daily Thetha Lidikwele on the inside. What are some of the sentiments ya batho ba rona mo South Africa ka topic yo re bla bla lekgono mo ga Daily Thetha re lebella taba ya gore if batswadi ba go are from outside of South Africa but wena o belega mo South Africa, does that give you automatic citizenship ya mo South Africa? We are joined to discuss this conversation by Ncumisa Willie, who is from the Human Rights Commission, and Dr. Aaron Ramudumo, who is from Home Affairs. Well, welcome to Daily Thetha.
Thank you.
Let's jump straight into the conversation. Dr. Aaron, I think this idea in South Africa, there is a moral side. Yes, we want everyone to be South African because but then there are rules and regulations prescribed by the Department of Home Affairs. Perhaps can you please walk us through those rules about citizenship?
Kelebo, and thank you for having me. My name is Aaron. I work for Home Affairs. South Africa is part of the African Union, and we all participate in the affairs of Africa.
Yeah.
In Ethiopia, there is the AU building there. There are rules that govern this country, and most importantly, there is what is referred to as civil registration in various statistics.
Okay.
Through civil registration, each country is allowed or must, in fact, register its own people so that we should know how many people are in this country. Say, for example, a person decides to leave Lesotho to South Africa for work, for study, and other purposes. Well and good. There are documentations that are allowed. You need to have those documents that allow you to be part of South Africa for schooling and working purposes. Say, for example, a child is born here, and you are a Lesotho citizen. Your child does not automatically become a South African.
Okay.
Say, for example, you deliver your baby in the country, and you are a citizen from Lesotho. The expectation is that you should go to Home Affairs and give notice of birth.
Oh, okay.
You will bring some documents from Department of Health where a baby shall have been born. We will register you. We'll give you a DHA 19. You'll complete DHA 24. That is the notice of birth.
Okay.
Section 5 of the Birth and Death Act states who must then be registered on the National Population Register.
As a South African.
As a South African. 5.3 says only South Africans shall be registered in the National Population Register. Because the mother is not a South African, we will issue you a DHA 24 PB. It's a proof of birth.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll give you that proof of birth. You will take that proof of birth to your parent country, your country of origin, and get your child registered.
Angasali la doctor, because I'm trying to understand that bengicabanga ukuthi if ingane mhlawumbe izalelwe la eNingizimu Afrika nomzali is from Mozambique or anything, mhlawumbe uthola some sort of a dual citizenship. Is that not the case?
No. If your parent at the time of your birth is or was a Mozambican, you then become a Mozambican.
But if you've got one parent at South Africa, you can get South African citizenship.
Section 9 of the Birth and Death Act says if one of the parents is a South African, then that child becomes a South African.
Okay. All right.
Because there is a case la original that the collecting in umzali wakho omunye waseNingizimu Afrika nomunye wangaphandle, but namanje akasfeel as if ubelonga la eSouth Africa, akakufeel ukuthi he's a South African because of the way atrithwa ngakhona. Asibuyele namalungeleni omuntu namalungelo omntwana esimene njengaleso kwenzakala lithini ilungelo lika Reginald njengamanje?
Well, I think if we're talking about feelings, then we're talking about feelings of inclusion. The person feels like they are excluded. But the question is, are they legally excluded? If they're legally excluded, obviously, like Doctor has said here, they have a right to be registered as South Africans because South African nationality is linked to the origin of your parents. If one of your parents is South African, then you have a right to South African citizenship. But when we talk about social inclusion, that's something that we as a society we need to work on, and we need to change the mentality and say that we do understand that migration is a phenomenon that's happening in South Africa, and that the origin of someone's birth or someone's parents is not always indicative of where they should belong.
Perhaps maybe now, what is the stance, the Human Rights Commission when it comes to how a child gets their citizenship in South Africa? Are you guys in agreement with the Department of Home Affairs? Are you happy with the way it is now?
Legally speaking, South Africa has very good protective mechanisms for children. The children are protected in the Constitution. The Constitution says that the best interests of the child are paramount. South African government implements this through the Children's Act, and the Act also promulgates this. But obviously, with any good legal framework, there's implementation problems. We are not always happy with implementation problems. Sometimes it's the registration process. Sometimes it's officials who do not understand the law.
Registration process.
Sometimes people who are born from parents, either one of the parents is not South African. Sometimes the officials don't understand that that person has a legal right to be registered as a South African. They then turn the child away. We have issues with children who are born from asylum seekers or from refugees. As he has said, that international law states that all children born in a country must be registered. There has to be a birth registration, and that is not always happening, which then leaves these children who are born in South Africa as undocumented, and that leaves them vulnerable, and it also means that they are excluded from getting socioeconomic services such as education, health, etc. So those are the issues that we have in terms of birth registration and citizenship and how it interplays in affecting people's rights.
In most cases, you'll find that we judge each other by our surnames way too, and by looking at your surname, I already concluded with you that's where you're from. Let's look at someone, Ono Baba from Nigeria for that matter, and the mother is from South Africa, but somehow it doesn't get that sense of belonging in Africa because the surname we don't have in Africa with this surname, so but by that treat her as a Nigerian. That case, how can we educate Abantu about that?
It's quite important that we understand that we are in a global village. You cannot treat me by just my surname. I'm a Ramudumo. I'm told, this is what my father told me. They came from DRC in the 1400s. They settled in Zimbabwe somewhere in the late 1700s. they moved someplace in the so-called Venda in the 1800s. And I'm now at Mujaji. I'm a Rosi, I'm a Lobedu. I'm a descendant of Munemutapa and Zugudini. So you can see I can trace back my history.
Yeah.
Because we play, I mean, we live in a global environment. The naming thing should be out of the question. What is important is nationality and citizenship. Nationality is a state sovereignty. The state has a right to determine who is a citizen and who is not. In a way that is fair, that is legal, and there is reason behind it. Because most importantly, there are 3 ways in which one becomes a citizen. Citizen by birth, citizen by descent, citizen through naturalization.
Okay. Because of isikhathi komele sebreakini sisikhulumile sayikha phezulu endaba, but now asizweni ke kubona abantu abahlala eNingizimu Afrika abafila as if maybe ababelong lo, or they are saying actually ama-South Africans abenza ababelong kube sekhaya la. Sambe sebreakini sabuya after this. Welcome back to Daily Thetha, guys. Namanje sakhuluma about abantwana abazali eNingizimu Afrika, but abazali babo bengesiba bokuqhamuka bokudabuka la eNingizimu Afrika. Maybe mhlawumbe umzali oyedwa kuseyokudabuka ekuthenini athini ama-rights akhe lo mntwana lawo ubelonga kuphi ke yena. Right now we do have Audrey Swamba, Operations Manager at the Coordinating Body of Refugee and Migrant Communities, uyena okhona nje. Welcome to Daily Thetha.
Thank you very much.
And Baba Samba, let me start by asking this thing that how many cases that you are dealing with where people actually are confused as into actually where do I belong?
I think that day to day we have complaint coming from community members of different nationalities, as we are working with different nationality leaders and also community members. So most of the complaint come from people that they were born, maybe a parent that was, let's say, have a child here, and that child could not be, maybe the Department of Home Affairs could not be registered at the Department of Home Affairs. Is most of the times why it's coming.
Why the child couldn't be registered? So
in most of the times it's coming that whether the parent doesn't have an ID, is illegal in the country, or he has, let's say, an asylum seeker, but an asylum seeker, I don't say a refugee paper, but an asylum seeker, but the Department of Home Affairs doesn't want to register the child on with the birth certificate. Is most of the cases that we are having these days.
Okay. Doctor, I can understand an illegal parent in the country, right? But an asylum seeker document, because we can't turn away a person like that in the country, regardless of the fact that South Africa, yes, a country which is it's a law-abiding, country. How do we move around that?
Africa has a problem of what is referred to as a scandal of invisibility.
Okay, explain to us.
Yes. In Africa, there are about 12 million persons that are not documented.
At all?
At all. 12 million persons undocumented.
Why is that?
I don't know.
And they're moving up and down across different countries.
What I can tell you is that we at times convene as African countries, right? In various parts of Africa, to say this to everyone who works within his or a country's home affairs, to say, get your people documented. For example, in South Africa, once a child is born, the expectation is that that child should be registered within 30 days. In some parts of Africa, people die before they are even registered. Some migrate from their mother countries to South Africa undocumented, right? So you end up not knowing how many people are in this country. So that becomes a problem. But what we are doing in South Africa is that whether a person is a South African or not a South African, right? That child must get to Home Affairs. That parent must get to Home Affairs and say, here is my child. My child was born at Baragwanath Hospital or whatever hospital, right? Please get my child registered. We will issue you with a document that clearly indicates
which part you fall in.
Yes.
Even if that person doesn't have papers, is it illegal in Africa?
Whether that person is legal or not legal, the fact that you will have come to us to say, here is my child, here is a proof that I gave birth in this country, right? We should give you a document proving the birth of your child in South Africa.
But doctor, and maybe perhaps Ngumisa can answer, what is the reality of if I'm undocumented?
I think I'd like to interject there. You know, there's a difference between what the law says on paper and the lived experiences of people. He speaks about how in Africa there's a problem of undocumented persons. That includes South Africa. We often receive cases from South African citizens who say, "Nah, I was born in the Eastern Cape, in the rural Eastern Cape. Mama never registered my birth, but now I need to write my matric certificate. Now I need to write my matric. I don't have a birth certificate. I don't have a barcoded ID. Therefore, the Department of Education is refusing to register me for my matric exams." That's an issue that affects even South African. This is not merely about non-nationals.
But I mean,
let's just take a call because we have someone often who a question German. Zinhle from Soweto, welcome to Daily Thetha, Zinhle. Hello, Zinhle. Where's the Zinhle?
But let's go back to the question. You know, as from Home Affairs, I really want that question for me. We fetule doctor, because I'm not registered. I'm illegal in the country, and you guys are then saying, "It's like a Home Affairs, because you've now given birth." What then happens to me? Do I then get sent back to my country, and the child? What happens to the child? Because I mean, there must be a fear element also.
If there is something wrong that you've done, and you know you came into the country unlawfully, you will have broken South African law, right? And the law must take its course. We will reasonably, right, register your child, right, but take you through the process where we're trying to assist you in getting yourself noted that you are in the country and for this and that reason, right? There are many organizations that are dealing with that, those non-South Africans.
But there are chances that while the process is going, Mina, maybe I'll be at Lindela at that time.
Look, you cannot be in this country if you have broken the law.
I see. And I think it's important that we make sure for Daily Thetha viewers and everybody at home knows, as a show, we don't promote lawlessness in the country. So we want to find out, understand? But what we maybe perhaps, maybe as anybody can explain to us, as an asylum seeker, what then? How do I go around this process? If I'm giving birth and I'm an asylum seeker, or let's say both parents are asylum seekers, one or registered as ing, it's just a notice also they've been born in South Africa?
I think let's first start with what is an asylum seeker.
Perhaps.
An asylum seeker is someone who has fled their home country owing to a well-founded fear of persecution. Now, the South African Refugees Act lists the grounds in which one can be persecuted. It's a non-exhaustive list. So an asylum seeker is someone who's left because of a fear of persecution and then has lodged an application for asylum with the Department of Home Affairs. That application is still under process. It hasn't been finalized yet. Because application usually takes time, the law says it's supposed to take no more than 180 days. But in South Africa, we know it takes a little bit longer than that for most cases. So during that period where the Department of Home Affairs is assessing the veracity of your claim to determine whether you really are a refugee or not, they give you what we call a Section 22 permit, which then allows you to stay in South Africa legally and to work in South Africa. But it does not give you citizenship rights. So if you give birth during that time, Home Affairs is only legally obligated to register your child's birth and give you a notice of birth.
Okay. I think it's very clear like that, but also at home, if you want to ask a question, but you understand, be anonymous, it's fine. Like, let's go to Ebony Park. Anonymous, welcome to Daily Thetha.
Hi, kunjani?
Sikhona njani wena?
siyaphila uthi yazi mina nginenkinga ngale ndaba le because mina umntanami like ubabakhe uzalwa from ubabakhe Nigeria ne and mina I'm a Xhosa so vele ngimzalele la eSouth Africa vele obvious so lo mntana lo makangena isikolo esikoleni bamtshela ukuthi igama lakhe abakhona ukupronounce ukuthi igama lakhe is a Nigerian name and then surname yakhe is a Nigerian name
okay
so abakhona ukupronounce igama so mama khona wangibiza one day wathi yena akakhona ukupronounce le gama leli so it's better ngimchange
change igama lemntwana
sorry
no go ahead we listening you changing igama lomntwana
ngichange igama lomntwana ubona lapho bazokhona ukupronounce le gama leli bakhona ukulibiza igama lakhona
ubani igama lomntwana
babhala wrong spelling babhala wrong everything yakhe bayibhala wrong
ubani igama lakho mntwana
Chikondia Oliob.
Okay. And so the question is ukuthi mhlawumbe uphatheke kabi ukuthi esikoleni bashintshisa umntwana wakhe igama lakhe just because they can't pronounce it.
And yena wangibuza ukuthi kanti mama why igama lami naliparate kwabanye abantwana because abanye abantwana igama lami balibiza wrong why bengalibizi like my dad used to call me why belibiza wrong igama lami so another question because like with the way lingakhona.
Okay. No siyakuzwa kahle siswami sizama ukuthi sikhulume about that and find out exactly ukuthi ungenza njani athini amalungelo akho njengomzali na umntwana as well ukuze igama lakhe ligcine lipronounce ngendlela kuyona yona angikwazi ukulibiza Nicolette but asameni se break njengamanje.
Welcome back to Daily Thetha. If you have just joined us, if when batswadi ba go from outside of South Africa, but to South Africa, does that automatically make you a South African? And I think we've had some great insights in getting a better understanding but where Malawi is maybe perhaps failing the system, we need to question and get a better understanding as a South African, you know, first and foremost on the law side, but also on the social inclusion. How do we help those who are sitting in a situation where they think I don't even belong here? And we just heard from Anonymous on the call, you know, it's a name. This is the name that her child has been given by their father, and we can't be, as South Africans, be discriminating against Libito Langwana.
You know, mzampe fut ikama, especially when our parents it means something. And the next thing, the school, but you know, you must change it because they can't pronounce it. I think it's a very sad situation.
It almost sounds like that situation that happens at the restaurant when you meet some of the waitresses that are not from South Africa and they've got names like Beauty or whatever, and then you ask them, what's your real name? And they tell you their real name, but their names got changed because the bosses couldn't pronounce the name. It is, But on the couch, we are joined by Prince Mhlanga. Welcome to Daily Thetha.
Thank you.
You've had a tough upbringing. Despite the fact that your surname Kim Mhlanga and Mhlanga, it's a common surname in South Africa. You've both parents, Bachokozim. Tell us a little bit about what were some of your experiences.
Well, I'd say from primary. When I started in primary, you know, there was always like this pressure. You could feel that, you know, South African kids, they got along with one another. They understood each other. But then when you an outsider, you know, you just feel like, you know, like what's wrong with me? Is there something wrong with me? Up until later on, you realize, no, it's actually because of where you come from.
But you were born here.
Yeah, I was born here, but now my parents were born in Zim.
Okay.
But now the thing happens is, you know, I couldn't really understand much of the language that they were speaking because there's a clash of cultures. Because my parents from this side, they also still practice theirs. I'm here in South Africa. I'm also trying to learn. And then through the whole journey, you get to actually learn a lot. But then one thing I realized is that, you know, in high school, you get teased a lot. You know, children get teased. They really take it lightly. But then this tease, actually, you grow up with it. You know, you grow up with it. You always feel somehow that, you know what, I actually feel like I'm not good enough. I don't deserve anything. And now the challenge...
Let me just come in, Prince. Was it because maybe the bag teaser just because your parents are from Zimbabwe, or maybe it was a language barrier issue?
It was actually being teased because of being from outside. You know, Zimbabwe was one of the poorest countries at the time. Like, it was really, really poor. And now for you to, like, hold that proudly to say that, hey guys, my parents are from there, that is something, that's a part of you that you actually hide. You mask it inside. And when you mask it, you as you grow up, you find that you don't find yourself. You actually start to lose yourself.
I see.
You start meeting other people who, you know, from their culture, they practice different things. And now, if you're trying to be like the next guy next to you, you find that, you know, you lose yourself, you forget who you are, you start treating, you know, family different, you start treating your friends different, because now you just hanging around with the wrong crowd.
Prince, but have they ever explained to you why they moved to South Africa?
Yeah, my dad actually told me once. In fact, I actually saw it because I've been to them. You know, I saw the conditions, and trust me, the conditions are really, really bad. Okay. You know, like the conditions are really bad, and I'm sure you moved here because South Africa basically it has much more opportunities. In Zim, they don't really have opportunities that we have here. You know, internet. People, I'm sure there's people that don't even know what internet is.
In various areas in Zim, not the whole of Zimbabwe.
You know, a very small portion knows what internet is.
Yeah.
But majority of the people really don't know what's going on.
Okay. Let me come to Dr. Aaron, because now and again we find people here in South Africa, and I have asylum seeker, I have a work permit, a study permit. I have someone that I was at a gym with because he was asking me to hook up with the modeling agencies, and I was like, okay, cool, drop your documents. And they're like, no, I only have a study permit. Take us through those permits that maybe abantu they need to understand. This can only last you for this much, and also this is what you cannot do if you have a permit.
There are different permits which are provided or given to people for different reasons. Study permits, commonly for studies. Work permit, coming to work. And they are limited. There are times within which you need to renew those permits. So you can continue living in the country. So what we emphasize most of the time is that if your permit is for 3 years or for 1 year, please go and renew, because you would still need a further year to continue with your studies, or further more years to do your work. So those are some of the permits that we do have. And the most important thing is people should always learn to stick to the rules of the game, because in each country there are rules.
But then, Doctor, this thing that umuntu comes here with a study permit, and the next thing, I feel good, okay, the years of and then that person would try and marry a South African citizen, so that azokwazi ukuthola that permission ukuthi abe seningizimu in Africa. Have you seen ama cases anjengana?
Getting married to a South African does not automatically grant you the status of becoming a South African.
So what are the stages?
It should not be the case. In fact, there is a certain period within which you should be granted some form of permanent resident in the country, because we know people would want to come through the back door and all those sort of things. That should not be the case. That is very unlawful. Look at this guy. He says he's a South African now, right? In fact, his parents came from Zimbabwe in the West. This is a descendant of Mzilikazi, Mashoban. They left KZN when there was a bit of some conflict between Shaka and Mzilikazi. They settled in the west of Zimbabwe, right? After independence, remember in Zimbabwe, about 20,000 or so persons were killed. So this guy has come back home. But how has he become a South African? One, his parents came to South Africa to work, right? They became they were naturalized, right? They became citizens of this country through naturalization, right? At the time of his birth, his parents were already naturalized citizen. Therefore, he's a South African citizen, right? You can see his parents followed due process, right?
Naturalization in how long?
Naturalization would take you about 10 years.
Okay, living in South Africa, working.
Yeah, before you are naturalized.
Okay.
So there is a process that one has to follow. But before you are naturalized, you become a PR holder.
Okay.
The difference between a PR holder and a natural citizen is at the end of, okay, let me explain this.
Yeah, PR holder.
Your ID is 13 digits, right? The first 6 digits, right?
Your birthday.
It's your birthday, right? Number 7 there determines whether you are a male or a female, right? The last 3 is your citizenship status. Okay. 081 08 South African, 18 is a permanent resident status, right? 2 something, it's a refugee, right? So for you to graduate from a refugee to something else, you need to graduate from refugee to a PR.
Yes.
Then you graduate from a PR to a citizen, right?
Okay.
There are rules that govern that process, and there are periods within which you would be expected to have stayed in the country for such a period of time. I know at times people do apply for PR status or for naturalization, and this takes a bit of time. We know Home Affairs is a huge department. There is quite a lot of processes that are to be taken, that are to take place, right? We would not want to falter in the process through which we deal with this kind of things.
I think because
otherwise
of time, Doctor, but I wish such information are available to Galula, or even where people are these days, which is social media, or maybe on a site where it's going to be easy so that I can click it and find out about that information. Nicolette,
yeah, let's quickly go to social media. Lindiwe van der Masina. My friend is a South African and her parents are from Zim. She's 30 this year with 2 kids. She doesn't have an ID and the kids don't have a birth certificate. How can we help her? So re tlo lebela taba Home Affairs rona e ka gona go mo thusha byang, but also re butse rena batho ba berekang go Home Affairs ba utsiba molao ka mka wona na. Do these laws and policies actually work? Please do stay with us after the break. Welcome back to Daily Thetha. If batswadi ba ga batho mo South Africa, but we no beloga mo South Africa, what are some of your rights? And it's been a great conversation. We've learned quite a lot, especially in getting a better understanding of the rights that are king, but also from the Department of Home Affairs. How can you maneuver around that situation? We are taking your calls on 011-339-1315. Renali Sesi Mengezi from Johannesburg. Hello, Mengezi.
Hello, sister. I've got a question.
Go ahead.
My question is, I was born in South Africa, and then in 1997.
Okay.
And then I wrote my matric 2015, last year. And then from there, it was hard for me to continue with my studies because of I couldn't apply in the ID because of they wanted ID for my mother. And my mother, was shown in 2007. Yeah, just after some years in Chile. So from mine, I just want to know, mine, I got my birth certificate and my matric certificate. What must I do to apply my ID and continue my studies? Because of I want to be a South African, and I'm happy to be a South African. And to vote now is also hard. So I just want to know from there.
Okay, Mengezi, we hope that we can assist you. Thank you very much for the call.
Thank you.
All right.
Doctor, note that question because there's another question coming in on social media as well, coming in from a Bentley on the track. I was born here in South Africa, both by my parents. I was Mozambican parents, and they both passed away, and I have no idea. The saddest part is that I've been tased like a dog by my local Home Affairs, calling me names. That's a very sad situation, but in that light, let's welcome Ulizi Ngweniso, umama wakho waseNingizimu Afrika and ubaba wasezim as well. Before Siza Gwen, Doctor, can you answer those both questions?
Okay, the caller was born in 1997. Yeah. He indicates his mother passed on.
Yeah.
But at least he has a birth certificate.
Yes. Yeah.
When he was born in 1997, the mother or both parents went to Home Affairs to register his birth. And Home Affairs issued him a birth certificate, which has an ID, right? We still have a record of that person, which was deposited to Home Affairs in 1997 when he was born, right? Now that the parents have, and the mother has passed on, right? He still probably has a death certificate. He has somebody who's a family member. They can assist him in getting the ID. There is no reason why he should not get an ID. If he's a legitimately registered South African, he has a birth certificate. So we can easily deal with that.
Okay.
Secondly, this other person was born in Mozambique. He has no ID.
Both parents are from Mozambique.
Both parents are born are Mozambicans, right?
Yes.
He was born in South Africa, right?
Yes.
These parents possibly came to South Africa for reasons known to themselves, right?
Yeah.
now they are no more, right? Was this person born in the country? If yes, South Africa must have registered him, issued him with a DHA 19. It's a proof of birth, right? The expectation was that upon his birth, the parents should go back to Mozambique and get him registered in the Mozambican national population register.
The parents have passed away.
Now, when did the parents pass on?
Okay.
We don't know.
Yes.
Say, for example, you get registered today, right? Perhaps in a week's time, you can go back to Mozambique and get yourself registered.
But let's ask something, do the staff at Home Affairs really understand all these processes and procedures?
Yes, we have what is referred to as the Birth and Death Act. That is Act number 51 of 1992. Section 9, Section 5, Section 31. Section 9 is basically about birth registration within 30 days, right? Section 9. Section 5 clearly states whose details must be entered in the National Population Register, right? Section 31 talks to how we deal with a person who's found to have lied. Then we also have what we call regulations. The regulations governs how we should register South Africans, and a child born of a South African and a non-South African, and a child born of both parents, non-South Africans, or who are refugees or asylum seekers, right? We also have what you call...
most of the information, we're going to post it as well on our social medias. But Nicolette, we do have Ulizi Ngonisola. We're talking to Prince, telling us about the experience yake. As well?
Yes, but it's different because when I was at school, I had to speak the language that my mom speaks, which is Xhosa. I had to pretend as if I'm Xhosa, I have to speak Xhosa and everything. So because of the learners and everything, they had to tease and everything. So I had to speak Xhosa, and I used to stay with my dad and my dad's family, and I had to engage with that language of them. So I knew that language. So now I had to change the language. I had to speak the language that is spoken in South Africa, but I am South African. I felt like I'm an outsider because of my dad.
Perhaps maybe if we can take down the mic to Sis Ncumisa, just and get a better understanding, Sis Ncumisa, these are young South Africans, and they've both been discriminated against. Young this discrimination. How do we socially make sure South Africa understand that we are still one nation and we need to treat each other fairly, and also rights?
I think it's through public education and public dialogues such as these. For an example, this show has shown South Africans that you don't get automatic South African citizenship. People think you just marry, you get automatic South African citizenship. You give birth in South Africa, you get automatic South African citizenship. The doctor has just explained that it's a process which can take up to 10 years before someone becomes a citizen. I think we also need to start talking to people about the inherent dignity that everyone has. Every human being has a human right, irrespective of where they come from. We must start engaging with society to say, just because I happen to be born from another geographical location, it doesn't make me any less of a human being. And we also need to start interrogating our notion of nationalism and how it's contested.
Yes, thank you very much for tuning in. Remember, the conversation carries on. Go to social media pages. Thank you very much.